Hello and welcome to FDS. My name is Nate and I'm your host. Today we are going to learn how not to teach Magic the Gathering. Really, this is a 5 things you should try to avoid when teaching someone how to play Magic the Gathering. I'm at a point in my life where I'm starting to introduce the game to my children, and I've learned the hard way about basically every one of these things, and I thought I would pass it off to you. This isn't only for children. It could be for a friend or coworker who has shown a passing interest in the game. And before you say,
just send them to Arena.
I'll be honest, I don't like sending people to Arena. It's a predatory system, and I would hate to send somebody to their addiction. It may seem dramatic, but yeah, I don't like their practices, especially if we're dealing with kids. And even from a practical standpoint, you may be in a situation where somebody wants to learn how to play now, and you have cards, and they're showing interest, and it's a little awkward to say, here's an app, go play this, and then come back here in 20 minutes and we'll play. Nah. These are 5 things that you want to avoid when you're teaching someone how to play Magic the Gathering. Avoid being complicated. The Magic the Gathering rulebook has 257 pages. About the last thing you want to do when teaching someone how to play is to hand them that book, or even let them know that book exists. I could see somebody finding out that the rulebook is 257 pages long and going, I'll pass. It's important to start with the elevator pitch for Magic the Gathering. You say, Magic consists of cards that produce a resource. So land cards produce mana, and then other cards that use that resource to be cast. So spells use mana so you can cast them. That's where you start. And then you build off of that. You explain what specific spells are. You explain the difference between an instant and a sorcery. But you want to be careful with instants early on because they can complicate things. There's actually a website, Magic Junior, where Dad Magic, no relation, has created a game that is a simplified version of Magic the Gathering. He also did something where he eliminated instants in the game, and the game also does not include counterspell. More on that later. And it's a great way to teach somebody how to play Magic the Gathering. I've been using it myself with my kids, and it's been working quite well. I'll have a link in the description below so you can go check it out. But the important piece is avoid complications. The second piece is avoid absolutes. As I mentioned before, 257 pages is a lot. It's pretty safe to say that most of those rules have exceptions. Heck, one of the main rules of Magic is if a card and the rules contradict, the card wins. So it's safe to say that almost every rule has an exception, but it's not fun when you're learning how to play. When the person teaching you how to play says, whenever a creature comes into play, they cannot attack on the turn that they came into play because they have summoning sickness. And then 2 games later, the teacher then plays a creature with haste and attacks. And the student goes,
that creature just came in. How are you attacking? It has summoning sickness.
And the teacher says, oh, well, here's the exception to the rule. That kind of makes it feel bad, and from the perspective of the student, it can even look like the teacher is manipulating the game so that way they do better. So it's better to say something like, in almost every case, when a creature comes into play, it can attack because it's suffering from summoning sickness. There are situations where that may not be the case, and I'll point them out when they happen. And then in the later game, when the teacher plays the creature with haste, they can say, okay, I'm playing this creature, but it has haste. Remember that rule I told you about with summoning sickness? Well, this creature doesn't suffer from summoning sickness because it has haste. So I will be able to attack this turn, just so you know. That way you're letting the student know there is an exception, and you will point it out when it happens, and then when it happens, you point it out. Whenever you are explaining rules and concepts, try to remember to explain that there are almost always an exception to the rule. I realize that's hard because you'll be saying that a lot while you're explaining the game, but I do think it's important. This one I have a little bit of trouble with. Avoid tangents. It's important to avoid rabbit holes and tangents because you're already throwing a lot of information at them. If you are then throwing information on top of that they don't necessarily need to know yet, you're making things worse. Avoid going into details on the exceptions and just say, I'll touch on them when I come to them. Using the example from before where the teacher says, in almost every case, when a creature comes into play, it suffers from summoning sickness and will not be able to attack.
Unless, of course, the creature has haste, which means that it doesn't suffer from summoning sickness and it can attack on its first turn, and it can tap. So in this scenario, if I played a creature with haste, I'd be able to attack you right now.
So what you have done is you've added a keyword that they haven't heard of yet, and they're not seeing it on the board yet, so they can't really attach it to anything. And then you're starting to explain how the situation would happen, so it's not happening in the real world, it's happening in your head, and you're explaining it to them. You have now created an entire scenario that they're trying to keep track of while you're teaching them a game that has a rule book that has 257 pages. So that I would consider a tangent. I also would consider any stories about it. Like anytime a creature comes in with summoning sickness, it can't attack or use its tap ability.
Unless, of course, it has haste. There was this one time I was playing with my friend Eric. He had this huge board state of creatures, and he was about to attack me and completely take me out. But I had a damnation in my hand, so I was able to play that, wipe his board, and then I went to play a creature, and I realized I had one with haste. So I played it, and I tapped, attack, and I won the game.
You know what your student's gonna do when you tell that story? They're gonna understand about half of what you said. And you've just gone on a tangent telling them a story that has really nothing to do with them learning how to play the game. Save the story for when they have a good grasp on the game and you can tell them that story and they can appreciate it for what it is. They'll know what a damnation is. They'll know what a board wipe is. They'll understand what you're talking about. So as I said, avoid tangents. This next one's probably gonna make me some enemies. Winning isn't everything. A lot of people play this game to win, and that's fine. That's great. I encourage you to do so. If that is something that is fun for you, go ahead. There's even an entire pro competitive league, well, for now anyway, that the whole point is trying to win the game of Magic the Gathering. The problem is we're not in that league and we're trying to teach somebody how to play the game. Well, I'm just saying that if you keep that competitive nature and you try to win every game that you play against them, it might create some bad feelings. Now, I'm not saying you should let them win. I'm just saying you should let them win. Hold on. I'm saying that if you're in a situation where you can see that they can win, if they attack with all their creatures, they can win. But there's that pesky damnation again right in your hand. You could play it. Maybe consider not playing the damnation and giving them a W. Maybe. I'm not saying on all the games. I'm not saying every game. I'm not even saying most of the games. I'm just saying that if you're teaching them how to play and you realize you've been kind of beating them a lot, you're coming up on a situation where they might be able to pull a win if you don't play optimally, then maybe don't play optimally. A big part of teaching somebody how to play the game is getting them to associate good feelings with the game. They're trying to learn a very complicated rule set while also playing a game, and this is supposed to be fun. And if you see they're not having fun because you're constantly beating them, then, you know, maybe not beat them all the time. Now, there will come a point where, yeah, they've got the rule set, you're not having to remind them to untap their lands, then yeah, pull no punches. I'm talking about the very early stages. I think it's fine to do it as long as you don't make it a habit. I think it's fine to do it once or twice while you're teaching them to play the game. Consider it. Put the competitiveness on the side and teach them how to play. And the final thing to avoid is frustration, because they're learning how to play a game. This is a complicated game, as I've stated multiple times. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to miss things. And I'm sure you did when you were learning. It's important to not get frustrated with them. And another thing I think is try to avoid frustration in them. I know that's hard. You can't make anybody feel a certain way, but you can try and tailor the situation to help minimize it. The example I'll give is Counterspell for Magic Jr. Part of the reason why it was removed is because Counterspell often breeds frustration, especially in new players. But if we're being honest with ourselves, veteran players get frustrated by Counterspell. It's just a good idea to just keep it out of the game. In fact, I would recommend maybe keep all of the control magic out of the early games, because control magic is frustrating to play against. They will be exposed to the joy of control magic eventually, but maybe let's ease them into it. That is one of the most frustrating things when playing a game. When you go to do something in the game and the person teaching you says, no, you can't do that. And especially if it's something you think you can do because you think you understand the rules, but then somebody who knows the rules better than you comes along and says, no, you can't do that. What are you doing? This may seem overdramatic, but I think it's important when we're teaching people how to play this game that we are good stewards of the game and we want them to enjoy the game. This is a game. This is a game that brings us together. We're about to enter an age of Magic where there is probably going to be an explosion in the player base. We know Lord of the Rings is coming, and while the Venn diagram of Magic and Lord of the Rings fans is fairly overlapped, there are still Lord of the Rings fanatics who do not play Magic who will once they find out that there is going to be a Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set. And same will hold true for every large IP that comes out with a full-fledged set in the future. So we are probably going to be asked, hey, how do you play this game? A lot. Oh, and there is actually one more thing I want you to do. Click on that. This show is part of the CIP network, inspiring creativity, one episode at a time.